Thanksgiving. For most people, it's a time for turkey, mashed potatoes, and maybe a little too much pie. It's about gratitude, family, and coming together. For me, for years, it was about holding my breath, biting my tongue, and playing a role I had long outgrown. But last Thanksgiving, that all changed. I decided to bring something new to the table, something besides my usual green bean casserole. I brought the truth. You see, my family is well. They're my family. I love them. I really do. But we have this unspoken agreement, this delicate dance we do around certain topics. It's like a play where everyone knows their lines, knows which subjects are off limits, and knows exactly how to keep the peace. The main character in this play has always been my older brother, Mark. From the time we were kids, Mark was the golden child. Straight A's, captain of the football team, the one who could do no wrong. I was the quiet one, the artsy one, the one who was always just ... there. This dynamic didn't just fade away as we grew up. It solidified. Mark's successes were celebrated with fanfare. His mistakes were gently brushed aside as learning experiences. My achievements, they were nice. My struggles, they were drama. Over the years, this created a quiet resentment in me that I didn't even fully understand. It wasn't that I wanted less for my brother. It was that I wanted to be seen, truly seen for who I was. The pressure cooker really started to build a few years ago. I left my stable, sensible accounting job to start my own graphic design business. It was the scariest and most exhilarating thing I had ever done. I worked tirelessly, pulling all-nighters, networking, and pouring every ounce of my creativity into building something from nothing, and slowly, it started to work. I landed clients, my portfolio grew, and I was finally, for the first time in my life, genuinely proud of my professional life. But at family gatherings, it was as if none of it was happening. The conversation always orbited around Mark, his new promotion at the law firm, his golf handicap, his upcoming trip to Europe. When my parents would ask me how I was, and I'd start to talk about a new project I was excited about, the response was always a polite nod before my dad would say, "That's nice, dear. Hey Mark, did you see the game last night?" It was like my life was a commercial break they had to sit through before the main feature resumed. The final straw came a month before Thanksgiving. I had just landed my biggest client yet, a national brand. It was a game changer for my business. I was over the moon. I called my mom, my voice shaking with excitement. "That's wonderful, honey," she said, but her voice was distracted. "Listen, I have to go. Your brother just called. He's thinking of buying a new car and wants our opinion on the color." A new car color was more important than the biggest moment of my career. The phone call ended, and I just sat there, in silence. It wasn't just that they didn't understand my work. It was that they didn't seem to care to try. The hurt was deep, so as Thanksgiving approached, I felt a knot of dread in my stomach. I pictured it all: the same questions, the same glazed-over expressions, the same pivot back to Mark. I thought about making an excuse, about getting a sudden cold. But then, a different thought took root. What if I stopped playing my part? What if I stopped letting their script dictate the conversation? I wasn't a child anymore, seeking approval. I was an adult who had built a life for herself. I deserved to be heard. Thanksgiving Day arrived. The house smelled of roasted turkey and cinnamon. Everyone was there: my parents, Mark and his wife, my aunt and uncle. The first hour was standard procedure. Small talk, compliments on the food, updates on the weather. Then we all sat down at the dinner table. As my dad was carving the turkey, he launched into the opening act. "So, Mark, tell everyone about the big case you just won. Your mother and I are so proud." Mark, to his credit, looked a little uncomfortable, but he began his story. Everyone was captivated. The oohs and ahs were perfectly on cue. I just ate my mashed potatoes, my heart pounding in my chest. I felt that old, familiar feeling of shrinking, of becoming invisible. But this time, I didn't let it swallow me. When Mark finished his story and the applause died down, there was a brief lull. My aunt turned to me and asked the perfunctory question, "And what about you, sweetie, keeping busy?" This was it, my opening. I took a deep breath, put down my fork, and looked around the table, making eye contact with everyone. "Actually, I am," I said, my voice clearer and steadier than I expected. "I know we don't talk about my work much, but something really incredible happened last month. After 3 years of building my graphic design business from scratch, I signed a contract with a national company. It's the biggest achievement of my career, and it means I'll be hiring my first employee next year." Silence. You could have heard a pin drop. My dad was holding the gravy boat midair. My mom's smile was frozen on her face. Mark was just staring at me. It was the longest 10 seconds of my life. I thought, okay, I did it. I broke the family. Then my aunt, bless her heart, broke the silence. "Wow, a national company. That is absolutely fantastic. You have to tell us all about it. What did they do?" And I did. For the first time ever, I talked about my passion. I talked about the late nights, the joy of creating something, the fear of failure, and the thrill of success. I didn't hold back. I didn't downplay it. I owned it. As I spoke, I saw a shift. My uncle started asking about the financial side of running a business. Mark's wife asked to see my portfolio on my phone. Even Mark chimed in, asking a surprisingly insightful question about my creative process. But the most profound change was in my parents. My mom had tears in her eyes. "Honey," she said, her voice thick with emotion, "I don't think we ever realized we're just so used to your brother's world, law, finance, ... It's what we understand. We're so proud of you." My dad put down the gravy boat. He looked at me, really looked at me. "She's right," he said quietly. "We haven't been fair to you. Your work is just as important. Your success is just as important." That Thanksgiving, something broke, but it wasn't our family. It was the old unspoken rules. It was the invisible wall that had been standing between us for years. The rest of the dinner wasn't awkward or tense. It was ... real. We talked about Mark's job, yes, but we also talked about mine. We talked about my aunt's garden and my uncle's retirement plans. We were a family, not actors in a play. Telling the truth was scary. It felt like I was rocking a boat that had been sailing smoothly for decades, but what I realized is that the boat wasn't sailing smoothly. It was just going in circles, stuck in a pattern that kept some people on the sunny upper deck and others hidden below. Sometimes, you have to be the one to create a wave, not to sink the boat, but to change its course. That day, I didn't just ask for a seat at the table. I claimed the one that had been there for me all along, and it was the most grateful I've ever felt on Thanksgiving. Thank you so much for listening to my story. If it resonated with you at all, I'd be so grateful if you'd hit that like button and subscribe for more content. See you in the next video.